And we are back. ELF week 2 in the 2025 season. And we have got a great show for you today, presented by Euronics. My name is Nick Alfieri. You might notice I'm in a little bit of a different setup. That's because I'm coming to you live from the United States of America. Guys, I know it's the European League of Football, but this league is going global. And I am here with my lovely co-hosts coming out of the United Kingdom, my good buddy, Matt Bressington. Matt, what's going on, man?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very good. This week was eventful, definitely. Good week of football. We got a lot to talk about. I'm excited. I missed you because we
I
haven't
missed
had a
you too,
full,
man. I
we
missed
haven't
you too,
talked show in
man.
a while.
I was traveling to the States on Friday. I had to miss that show, but I am back today on the Monday evening show. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for joining us this evening. If you're in Europe, this morning, if you're in the United States, wherever in the world you are joining us from, we are live on multiple platforms, including YouTube, including Twitch, including Instagram. And we see your chats here. So whatever you have to say in the show, this is an interactive show, you guys. You participate. Matt and I are the hosts, but you guys are the driving force. You give us your thoughts, your opinions, and everything you want to say about ELF football. Adrian Stephenson, hey, Nick's back. There we go. Maximilian, yo, what's up, man? SH, whoop, whoop. And hey, Matt, we got somebody excited about the Galaxy 1981 Beach Bum. Is excited about the Galaxy picking up their first win. We'll talk about that. So, guys, great show for you today. We're going to do a little bit of a run through of all the games, give our thoughts, get your guys' thoughts on all of the games. And then, as we do every Monday, we're going to be doing the Citizen MVP of the Week, which, like we said, you guys are a part of picking who is nominated for the MVP of the week. Interactive show. So stick around for that because it's a very, very important part of this program. So, Matt, with that being said, are you ready to talk about week 2 of the ELF?
I've never been more ready, Nick. There's so much to talk about. I don't know where to start, but oh my gosh, yes, please.
We'll start right here with just the beautiful graphic from our superstar producer Maxie right here of our week 2 slate of games that we had. And you know what? Let's jump right on into it with the first game of week 2. And we've got the Fahervar Enthroners traveling to beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Vienna, Austria, one of my favorite cities in the entire world, to play the reigning championship game appearing Vikings. And this was a little bit of a one-sided route. Matt, give me your thoughts on this game.
I mean, the first thing that stands out to me is those gorgeous black and purple jerseys that
Hey.
the Vikings were rocking this one. But this one was, like you said, one side. I don't think that they ever got out of maybe second gear in this. I think they looked superb. They're a phenomenal football team all over.
Sure.
But for me, this was the depth. You know, we saw players like I'm just saying it. I got a message from MVP Ben Holmes, potential MVP this
MVP.
season. He talked to me about Johannes Schultz. He was like, "You called it. Johannes Schultz is that guy," and he is indeed that guy. He got a kick return touchdown. Shows the depth in this Austrian talent pool incredibly that they could lose someone like Karabajaran and just early in the game, so with Yannick Myers, they didn't come back into it. But they're just so good at just producing talent through this team. They were able just to be comfortable, ride the waves, shows the experience, shows the comfortable coaching. Perfect. We still see Torre getting 2 touchdowns. Saw Reese Horn still doing what he does. Obviously, you got Lala with a pick. Such a good player. I've got so many guys in this Vienna Vikings roster I'm just a massive fan of. But it was a bit of a clinic, Nick. It was a
Sure.
pretty good one for them overall.
Yeah, well, we've seen Vienna put on a few different clinics out there in some of their Eastern Conference games every once in a while. Maximilian Riesenbacher says Vikings took care of business. They sure did. Ben Holmes didn't have like a crazy game statistically. 12 for 22, 161 yards for 4 touchdowns. Nothing too crazy. Tough about Kari going down. Liedelbauer stepped up though and put up almost 100 yards on the ground right there. Just what you said, man. Vienna is just so deep, man, and they've got that youth program, and this is just a squad that is full of players that can take care of business. Question for you, Matt, on the Fahervar side of things. Brock Dahman, he struggled against this good Vienna defense. Not too much of a surprise, but less than 50% completion percentage, 2 picks, sacked 4 times. Thoughts on this? What does Fahervar have any hope here at the quarterback position?
Uh, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because Although you can show flashes, and this is just what a part of scouting is that maybe in these big wins or big losses, you can still see parts that would make a quarterback like successful, maybe in an improved team. Dortmund doesn't show the best arm, the best footwork, and a lot of people were saying to me before the game and after the game they wanted to see Jack Mangle coming back
Right.
for the team. He was good last year. Statistically didn't pop, but he worsened thrown his team comparatively and has performed better. So there are some people, especially my good friend Thomas, who was in a lot of my streams this weekend, who will call in for Mangle to come back. I do
That's
think Domin has some aspects that you look for in a quarterback. He is fearless. Like he will just throw the ball. Sometimes that can be detrimental. Of course, we saw he gets pick sixes against Lalo, like we mentioned, and he did throw two picks and ultimately had not very good completion numbers at all. I just think rein it in a little bit. He's got some good talented possession receivers like Sirok, who we saw have a good game, Nando Toth as well, Shard Still. They're all talented players. I think they need to reduce the scope of the offense to these 5 to
right.
15-yard gains and stop trying to force the ball downfield. Because let's be honest, with defensive backs that Vienna has, all stars like Ben Straight in a homegrown core, you're not going to be able to just get these 50, 60-yard bombs consistently. You need to reduce the scope, keep it simple, and just move the ball a bit slower. Not every single play has to be an immediate score. So
There you go.
there are aspects of Dolman that you can take well, but there are definitely things that need to be cleaned up as well. Never in doubt.
I think that's a good analysis right there. Reduce the scope a little bit. And then Simon Klein says, really hope Kari and Meyer will be okay. Yes, we hope that as well. Injury is always the worst part of sports. And these are two guys pretty beloved around the league. So we wish the best for them. And then Aiden Stevenson, and this is fair right here. This week, we're going to find out if the Vikings are up to the task because they will be in the championship game rematch against the Rhine Fire this week. But there we have it. The Vienna Vikings taking care of business against the Fehervar Enthroners at home in those sleek black uniforms. Love to see that. All right. Our next game of the week. The Hamburg Sea Devils traveling to Matt Bressington's own Prague Lions. I don't know if you guys saw it a couple shows ago. Matt Bressington busted out his Prague Lions hat. Okay. And Matt, give me your thoughts on this because one thing I will say, as you always say, this is not your grandfather's Prague Lions. It was a 1 point ball game going into the fourth quarter. I think Prague is showing up in a little bit of a different way than we've seen from them in previous seasons. Thoughts on this one?
I mean, you can tell I'm wearing black today in mourning of the Prague loss, which I'm very, very sad to see. But like you said, there were some aspects, and some people pointed to the final score, and they only lost by 10 last year, and they lost by like 15 this year. So clearly they're a worse team. Stupid response. I'm just going to be forward. This Prague Lions team had opportunities. William Patterson was so good, and he could have been an MVP favorite of the week. 77 yards on the ground, 78 in the air with a touchdown to boot. He was fantastic, one of the best receivers we have in this league. The mistakes with the flags, so many flags.
A lot of
There were
flags.
so many flags, and then the interception by Smith. It was overthrown. It happens. Not great. It wasn't a good throw. The fumble that was cataclysmic to use a big one. Uncontested, ball just slips out. You see it at the highest level as well. Like it's not just him making that mistake. You see that in the NFL. But it's just the fumble kept going and kept going and kept going all the way down the
Right.
field. There was
Right.
instances where they were pinned up in their own red zone, and then they get that massive play to Belai up the middle. They go for a long one, gets called back for a flag. They do it again, gets called back for a flag, and that really killed them ultimately throughout the game. But what killed them most, Nick, was the run defense. Hamburg did not have an American quarterback. We do not
Ah,
have Tuivasa in this game. It was German homegrown Moritz Mack who did a good job of managing the game, but it was all run, and they knew it was going to be all run, and then they still couldn't do anything about it, and that was big for me.
that does worry me when you know that it's going to be a one-dimensional offense and still unable to stop it. I mean, Hamburg is going to probably look a bit different when Tagovailoa gets in there and they are able to have some semblance of a passing game. And the penalties, man, I think the numbers here, Prague had double the amount of penalties and double the amount of penalty yards. They got to clean that up. They're not in a position where they're able to make those types of mistakes. And this is just something that's the Prague Lions cannot cannot have here. And fourth down fiasco, these boys are in the chat. Hamburg seems better than everyone thought, and now they get Tulia. Thoughts on this, Matt? Hamburg. I mean, they did surprise us a little bit in week one when they went down to Madrid and played a really tough game with off the field adversity in all different directions. And now they're getting a quarterback who was very successful in college. A lot of people are excited about this. What do we think is going to happen with Hamburg?
It is a tough one. I mean, historically, they've been a very, very run happy team, and we're seeing the emergence of rookie running back Chris McKay, who I'm just saying I did predict would be in the rookie of the year running, and some people didn't acknowledge that, but here he is. And they got Lucas Harding Canito, who is another fantastic young running back. So he has this core. He has weapons like Terry Robinson, who are fantastic. He has a offensive line specialist in Lee, a head coach. The tools are there. Honestly,
Sure.
the tools really are. And we saw them pick up a win without a quarterback. So the defense had its moments. You got Carl Kitchens, of course, you got, and then you got Nazir Straya, who was this close to getting a pick six. I think they are going to be drastically improved. It's difficult, though, isn't it? Because, like we've discussed, you got the 6 to 8 teams. Are they in that? Are they only going to be able to compete with Paris, Surge,
Right.
Ryan, and Nordic? Or are they just going to be like the best of the rest? We need to see them win these Madrid games, because if they win that, we're talking about them so differently. They
Sure.
didn't, and there's only 12 games in the year left. You don't have opportunities that come by with one score games like that so close, and then you miss a field goal and lose it. Very fine out opportunities to make those wins count. Are they going to be able to do it? That's the big question. We need to see them test it.
Is the question. And your boy right here, Kyle Kitchens, is in the chat with the triple wave emoji. What's going on, Kyle? Good to see you, man. And we've got Jamal in the chat here. I said earlier, can't stop a one-dimensional offense. Sounds familiar. SMA. We're going to talk about the boys in a little bit, Jamal, because my goodness, talk about a one-dimensional offense that had a field day. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So the Prague Lions and the Hamburg Sea Devils, I think both of these teams improved from last year, and Hamburg able to get away with the win. They're playing Surge this week. And we'll see, Matt, what you were just talking about. Are they going to be sort of in that category of this 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 teams that we like to talk about, or are they the best of the rest? We will see this week. All right, moving on to our next game. Whew, boy, oh boy, was this a fun one. This was a Saturday night showdown. The Frankfurt Galaxy traveling down to the heat of Madrid, Spain. And Matt, we got to give you props because you talked about it last week. You said this game could have over 70 points in it, and it did just that. What's the math right there? 80 points in this football game. Very, very fun to watch. We'll talk about the Surge Paris game. This was essentially the opposite of that. That game was all defense, no offense. This game was all offense, no defense. Matt Bressington, give me your thoughts on this.
Oh, so fun. I loved it. It was great. But I just want to give a shout out to Tebs on commentary as well, with the zone on the English commentary. But every time he mentioned my name, he goes, on ELF Live, they talked about getting 70 points. As soon as he said my name, Galaxy break a big one down the field. So I'm just saying, right? Just one time it's a coincidence. Then on the PAT, he's going to go, well, I was just about to say about, and then they ruin the PAT. I feel like Galaxy, you have to make it so abrupt, so you don't want the league to hear about me and my predictions. But the rivalry continues. They're 1-1 with me at the moment because
There you go.
this was a fantastic victory for them. It was just firing all cylinders. It might be one of the best run performances we've ever seen from the team, and we'll get to Sandro's performance, of course. But it was also Alman and it was McKay who got a combined 150 plus yards and 3 more touchdowns in addition to Sandro's near 250 and 2. There was astronomical numbers. Like this game, I think 1,200 offensive yards in this game
That's
total.
what it was, 1,200.
Incredible. And then Madrid, we talked all about the Galaxy's offense, and then you've got Aaron Cruikshank going for nearly 200. Flores Calderon had his biggest game in a long time. He got like 102, like 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, just everyone was firing. It created a really, really fantastic to watch game. It was close to the wire, of course, a 14-point difference, just because the Galaxy put the dagger in it at the end of those long runs. But there was a bit of controversy with the spot of the 4th down conversion right at the end. That I'm not sure what you had it as, but I could see both sides. I think he
Well, I
kind
had
of
my sister is a professional replay official, and we were watching it and watch it. We didn't have enough angles for her to make a decision here and get the verdict, but that was an interesting point in the game. We do have a good highlight of Reed Sinnett, who did go 30 for 44, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks that were costly. But I do love the connection with him and Crookshank, man. I think Crookshank is just storming onto the ELF scene right here. We got to give a shout out also to Reed Sinnett with his YouTube vlog that he did this week. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's sort of the behind the scenes of playing and being an import in the ELF for Madrid. But my goodness, Matt, Sandro Platzgummer, and we see one of his runs right here. Just this is vintage Sandro right here. I think this is what everybody was waiting for Sandro Platzgummer to be in the ELF. Early on he had the injury, we lost him. Now he's back, and this is the Sandro Platzgummer that everyone has been excited to see. Just unbelievable, man. And so this very, very exciting game. Got to figure out the defenses probably for both of these squads. But hey, I'll tell you what, from a fan's perspective, seeing 80 points scored, I'm not mad. I mean, it's fun to watch. And you're right, it really was closer than the final score indicated because it was really truly a one score game right up until the end right there. So, Frankfurt Galaxy getting the big win on the road against a good Madrid team right here. And Matt, somebody in the chat did say, is Madrid a bad team now? I don't think so. This is kind of going back to the Hamburg game, but Madrid maybe not as exciting or as strong of a start as we were talking about. Because Matt, earlier in the year, preseason, we were talking about top 5 contenders. You have Madrid in there. What do you think of them right now?
I mean, we knew they were going to be an offensive showcase. Like Andrew Wandinger does not produce boring offenses. Like I don't think I've ever seen a boring Andrew Wandinger offense. So we knew they were going to be that, and we knew they from historically from last season they stopped the run, or they don't stop the run. Sorry. So we knew there were going to be points this year for them. So they're not a bad team, absolutely not. But there's just so many contenders. We said at the start of the year that there's 6 or 8 teams that can win the league, and that's just the reality of it. You got, I was explaining this to someone the other day. You got the Galaxy, who did not look very good against the Surge, just absolutely sleep Madrid in a classic. And then Madrid had a game against Hamburg, which was super close, and Hamburg just beat Prague, and Prague got close with Vienna. Now they're going to play Rhine. Like there's such an interlinked level of competition this year. It's by far the best level of competition we've ever had in the ELF. So this Madrid team is not a bad team. It's still an excellent top level franchise.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I wonder if we're going to have any undefeated teams this year, or even teams that have just one loss. I mean, it's just the competition is very exciting. All right, moving on to another team that we talk about as being a contender, the Nordic Storm, traveling to Wrocław, Poland to play the Panthers. And Matt, we saw the Nordic Storm storm onto the scene, no pun intended, in week
Right.
one and dominate the Helvetic Mercenaries. No surprise there. But I think a lot of us were wondering, okay, how are they going to play up and show up against a team that's maybe a little bit more formidable? They go on the road, they fly to Poland, and they were pretty dominant here, defeating a Panthers team that does have a good amount of talent. Jadrian having an absolute day, 24 for 32 for 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. This man proving why he was an MVP of the league and back-to-back champion. Matt, thoughts on this one?
This for me shows the experience of Jadrian. You know, you lose your star running back. How do you respond? You respond with a flat touchdown performance. And this was such a, you said about vintage, Sandro. This was such vintage Jadrian. Like he
Oh
was
yeah.
absolutely slinging the rock deep anytime he got an opportunity. There was some really fun plays. You see Devin Burrell returning a kick for 2, like the punt, the field goal kick for 2. I don't know how he keeps finding himself in these positions. Obviously, he's a very talented, instinctual player. That's how he does it. But the fact that he keeps getting these wonderful special teams plays is uncanny. But you are right. Value as well. You mentioned Cruikshank having like a potential star-making performance.
Right.
Bellew also had a hat trick of touchdowns, 151 yards in the air, and looked great on those deep routes as well. So there's just so much with the Storm to love. This is a great addition to the league. I love it. We see so many outstanding, more like group of homegrowns because Kennedy Chihing is a great running back. I've been a fan of him for years. Phenomenal running back. He gets nearly 100 yards on 10 carries and also a touchdown. You got Ludwig Myron and and Tawiki, the other linebacker, who is another homegrown that we've been introduced to through this team. So this was a great performance. Loved it from them. Fun overall, and just
Right.
there wasn't really much there was some moments for the Panthers early, but I think Khaled Adisa with his long arms getting that field goal block at the end of the first half, I think that sealed the fate for the Panthers.
Absolutely, man. And just to highlight some of the Panthers play, AJ Wentland, he did record 16 tackles after having a quiet week one. I think they only credit him with 4 tackles in week one, which just felt wrong. It just felt wrong in the ELF for AJ Wentland to have less than 10 tackles, put up 16 there. And then we did see somebody says Clark has the wheels on him. It's the 4th down fiasco, fellas. Jadrian threw the pick and he chased down AJ Wentland, and that created a very, very fun photo that we saw on social media. Jamal says Devin Burrell has the most value as an A import ever in ELF history. Bold take, but I don't think that is so crazy. Okay, maybe if you take out quarterbacks, okay, let's say maybe outside of the quarterback position. What this man is doing, and last week he was the week 1 MVP of the week, just to consistently have these plays that are such low probability plays. And Matt, just what you said, I don't know how he does it. Part of it's instinct, maybe a little bit of luck, who knows? But this man just makes magic happen, and he does it week in and week out. And right now, as of week 2, he's the favorite, in my opinion, for special teams player of the year. I'm getting ahead of myself, but that would be 3 in a row.
I was going to say, who would have thought Devin Burrell, special teams player of the year? Like, crazy.
Who would have thought? Oh, our director Maxie just throws an MVP. Could we have a defensive / special team player be MVP? Now that would be a low probability thing to happen.
Yeah,
it's not impossible. So there we have it. Nordic Storm taking care of business on the road in Poland, 40-21. Now everyone get ready to talk about a game that has almost no points. The lowest scoring game in ELF history, a battle of elite defenses. The Brenner Pastorino defense of the Stuttgart Surge and the Jack Del Rio defense of the Paris Musketeers. Stuttgart going on the road to play Paris in a defensive battle that ended up 0-6. Matt, thoughts on this one?
I mean, as analysts, we like to come up with these kind of positions where we say it's like a chess match with these kind of defensive performances. And it was a wet, rainy day, which led to a lot of running, which led to a lot of the clock being burnt off. So this was a very fast game before it was over. We only, I think, that I remember, Nate might have to correct me on this one. I think we only really had like one pass that went further than 20 yards, which was Austin Mitchell's catch downfield.
The deep ball, yeah.
First one. Yeah, that deep ball to Austin Mitchell. Apart from that, it was just that defensive shutdown, man. That surge unit was spectacular. Of course, they got to Jalen, I think, 4 times in total. So really good job for them, including Lackman. I think it was Lackman or Gruber. Can't exactly remember which player it was. It just got a massive hit. And then on the reverse, you allow a goose egg, 0 points. Paris defense is here. They didn't actually concede that much against Ryan last week. And we kind of brushed it off as a low-scoring game. Sure. But when they do it and they hold off the Surge, who just kind of dominated the Galaxy to 0, right? Nothing, nada, zip. Amazing performance. I mean, Karamoko, one of my best, he's such an outstanding safety. The Frenchman from the CFL coming over and just making an impact. Diego Gomez, the return of Cadell King to his throne. Honestly, he's been great at the middle linebacker position. Kielani as well. There's so much defensive talent with this French unit that it makes itself appear so far through 2 weeks as not only one of the scariest defenses in the league, but if they continue this pace, starting off the Surge like that, one of the scariest defenses we've ever seen, Nick.
Ooh, bold take right there. And we've got one of the Paris Musketeers owner, John McKean. And hi, Nick. How about them tears? You know what? Tears can maybe have a double meaning here. Musketeers, tears that I would theoretically shed as a fan of the Surge. And then the 4th down fiasco fellows say, rip, Nick. Hey, guys, you know what? I love good ball. I love a good defensive showdown. John, you deserve to rub that in my face, especially had one of the other owners, Jason Johnson. He took a little bit of umbrage with my power rankings the other week. And you know what? Rightfully so. Sometimes, Matt, we got to eat our words on here. And I think, do you think it's too crazy to say that these are the 2 best defenses in the league, Matt?
I don't think that's ridiculous. I do not think it's ridiculous to say that. I think that's a solid one. I'm trying to think of anyone that could rival that, and I'm struggling so far. If
Right.
anyone in the chat can think of anyone better, but oh my goodness, like this for me, we talk about all the time. Not going to beat a dead horse, but the importance of the homegrowns to both of these units is imperative. And again, I can go about names, but
Right.
that showed again in this game with the Surge and with Paris. Both of them have put an emphasis on that, and I think it was fourth down as well. They're trying to build that Ravens 2000 defense. You definitely do get an element of that with Paris. Like it's exciting. I'm loving it.
Yeah, there you go. That's actually that one was from Jamal Athletes Forum. Del Rio building that 2000 Ravens defense in Paris. And unfortunately for the Surge, their American wide receiver Jeff Cotton Jr. Knocked out of the game with an injury in the second drive. And man, Paris Musketeers got to give them props on there. Excited for the rematch between these two squads. Really great defensive showdown right there. Hey, we got a little bit of everything. We have a very low scoring defensive showdown here, and then we had the high scoring, exciting game in Madrid. ELF giving us a little bit of everything. Whatever floats your boat, we're gonna have a game for you. All right, moving on to our next game. Jamal, get ready, brother, or you might want to look away because the Helvetic mercenaries traveled to Tyrol, Austria to play the Tyrol Raiders in what I will say confidently is the most beautiful location to play ELF football at. The stadium in Innsbruck where they play in the Alps. Absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful day for the Raiders, not a beautiful day for the Helvetic mercenaries. Unfortunately, Connor Miller, the quarterback for the Raiders, went down early with the injury. And then, Matt, the Raiders didn't miss a beat because they just ran the ball all day. Talk about not being able to stop a one-dimensional offense. Helvetic had no shot. Thoughts on this one?
Everyone in the stadium knew they were going to run the ball, and they still couldn't stop them. That was the preface of it, and this was good. We needed to see this, Nick, because week one it was a stagnant run game. We didn't see much of them at all. But this one confirmed to us the Raiders own the Alps. I'm gonna name this the one the Alps Bowl for
There you
now.
go.
The Raiders take home the victory. They are so good with that run game that they prove they can beat anyone with it, and they don't need a quarterback. Or that maybe I'm putting a little bit of disrespect on Platzkummer's name, just in the evaluation on him. He can play quarterback. He did do that in this game. Maybe a sleeper as an MVP to come in and just be able to hand the ball off so efficiently. No fumbles, I don't think, on any of those
There you go.
handoffs. So an experienced player, and they dominated. And it was also just a defensive display, but do want to say a little bit, Nick, though. I'm a little, maybe I'm going to light a fire under a former receiver in the NFL's behind here. I expected more from Keelan Cole so far this year. He's not brought that level of intensity to his route running that we saw in the NFL. I don't think he looks particularly quick on his sharp cuts. We saw Isaiah Weeds pick to that sideline, the left sideline. I think I said it to you. It just wasn't good enough yet, and I expected more. So I want to see that come in. Maybe this one was just a down game. He didn't click in the first couple of weeks. It takes a lot to get used to such a culture change going over to Switzerland. But don't want to call this a call out or anything like that. But I do want to see more from Killen Cole going forwards if we're going to anoint him as the best receiver to play in the year left.
Okay, you know what, Matt? You don't want to call it a call out? Maxie, can you put us back on screen? I'm calling it a call out. Matt Bressington calling out American import wide receiver Keelan Cole. Okay, you know what? We like to make a little bulletin board material on this show. I'm guilty of doing it for the Paris Musketeers. And look, they just got a big win. You're welcome, John. You're welcome, Jason. And there you go, Matt, doing it for Keelan Cole right now. All right. And we do have to give a shout out for Mike Mathis says right here, John Mannon, eerily close to the famous John Madden name, was awesome on the commentary. By far best commentator on the ELF this week. He's fantastic. He does a lot of Raider T roll games. He brings very unique and fun energy. Love having him commentate those games. But man, oh man, Matt Bressington, 335 yards on the ground for the Raiders T roll and just absolutely dominant. They're going to have to figure out the quarterback situation. Okay, you can't do that every week. Not everyone's Helvetic. But for having that adversity this week and still being able to put on such a dominant performance, man, kudos to the Raiders T roll. All right, moving on to our last game of the week. An interesting one. The Berlin Thunder traveling south to Bavaria to play the Munich Ravens. And Matt, I think that we saw a little bit possibility the budding of an ELF star. Russell Tabor, the young 22-year-old quarterback. He was 22 for 31, 206 yards and 4 touchdowns. He did have a pick, but he also added another 100 yards on the ground. Looked pretty damn good, Matt. And there we see him right there moving pretty well. Thoughts on this game?
I think you wrapped it up really well. I was about to literally say that I think we saw the anointing of him coming out this season in this game, and I completely agree because I called him this generation Zach Edwards, and it does seem as if that is coming true into volition. But just to have someone, I cannot put how much important this is, to have a European veteran like Malik Stanley, who is just such a damn good receiver, to be able to just
Mhm.
target him pretty much whenever you want because he's just such an elite player is huge. But of course, it wasn't just him. I want to give shout out to a friend of the show, Etwa Louis, with
Mhm.
let's call it a diverse performance because he was everywhere. Got an interception on the D tackle position. He got fumble recovery as well. We got a couple tackles for loss. I'm pretty sure. What a performance by him! He's one of my favorite players because we British, our Kiwi cousins, so I'm
There you
excited
go.
to see him performing. So my goodness, though, this was a defensive showing. They picked up Sullivan 3 times, and then also to have and a fumble as well, and then to also have Tabor coming out as a 22-year-old to be such a great performance against an established team is very, very positive for the Munich Ravens fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamal says Tabor's best rookie quarterback so far, and he's on a 3-year contract. Munich is here to stay. Okay, there we go. I mean, we got to slow down a little bit. It is just week 2, but there are indications that that might be the case. Karen Hogg says, time to put some respect on the Ravens, man. I mean, when we've done our power rankings, we haven't had the Ravens crack anywhere near the top 5. Do you think after this week they will for you? I mean, they're one of only 4 undefeated teams left.
I think they probably will. They've got again homegrown great ones all over.
Sure.
Sands Rick is honestly on a pretty outrageous path. I mean, Fitzpatrick's been an amazing addition to that defense. You've got
Right.
Nitsanada that we've talked about 100 times as well. Like they've got the pieces. I think. I don't think I can hold it on anymore. My mum is a diehard Munich Ravens fan. She actually watched the game on the weekend and was cheering them on. So I think they've got to be in the top 5. I can't shut them out of that any longer.
Yeah, starting off 2-0 and looking pretty good this week while doing it. And David Butler says Malik Stanley, best wide receiver in the ELF, hands down. He is certainly up there. Last thing I want to say about the Berlin Thunder, man, is they can't. It's the story of them for years, man. They can't run the ball, and they got Kennedy Adams. And guess what? He had 4 rushing attempts. It's just like you can't be so one dimensional. I feel a little bad for Sullivan being put in that situation. Really didn't play great, but not a great situation for a quarterback to be in. So the Berlin Thunder lose on the road. The Munich Ravens looking pretty damn good in week 2. All right. There we have it. Those are our games for week 2 of the ELF. Now, guys in the chat, it is time for you to wield your influence on Matt and myself as we are going to nominate 2 players from this week to be the Citizen MVP of the week. Last week, of course, we had Devin Burrell win the award, and we've got a few guys here in the conversation. Let's start off with Aaron Cruikshank down in Madrid. Awesome, awesome game. 12 catches for 198 yards and a touchdown. I know they did lose the game, but Aaron Cruikshank storming onto the ELF scene, and that connection with Reed Sinnott hopefully will continue to improve, but a great performance from him in week 2.
Outstanding. But someone who's used to these kind of performances is Jadrian Clark, quarterback for the Nordic Storm. 75% completion rate, just a shade over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. Clinical performance, veteran-like leadership. He is one of the stars at ELF, and this is why.
There we go. And sticking with the quarterback position, a man who went down to Madrid and helped lead his team to a victory, Matthew McKay, 76% completion percentage, just a little bit better, Matt. 287 total yards and 3 touchdowns. Big win on the road against a solid Madrid team.
Sticking further with the quarterbacks and with our amazing performance we just mentioned, Russell Tabor, 206 yards with his arm, just as under a shade of 100 with his legs, 5 touchdowns in a big coming out party in front of the home crowd.
And Maximilian Riesenbichler says Sandro should have it this week. Well, Sandro is certainly in the conversation. Sandro Platzgummer, 18 carries, 248 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including the 2 in the fourth quarter, including the dagger to put Madrid away. Vintage Sandro Platzgummer coming out this week for the Frankfurt Galaxy.
And he's not the only running back. Tobias Bonatti as well, I think, deserves his flowers. 16 carries, 185 yards, more than 10 a carry is insane. With 3 touchdowns as well. Everyone knew he was going to run it, and he would still manage to put himself into position to get nearly 200 yards. Incredible performance.
There we have it. So these are the 6 guys that we have currently in conversation. Now, you guys, if you have somebody else in the chat that we didn't mention here, you can push for him. I see John right here is saying Paris D is the MVP. I was actually thinking if you could nominate a unit. I don't think that we are allowed to do that just yet, right, Maxie? But they do deserve a shout out here. So you guys in the chat, let us know who should be. Matt, let's talk, brother. I think that Sandro has to be in this conversation. 248 yards, including those dagger touchdowns, really broke open the game here. No answer for him. I mean, just that's a ridiculous stat to put up. Nearly 250 yards. What do you think? Sandro's got to be in there.
Sandro is absolutely, like, if you're not having him in the top 2, I feel like you're probably doing something wrong. Me and you, I think we went back and forth just a little bit before the show. Like, we got so and so. We both agreed that Sandro has to be in the top 2. So that's absolutely must. I'm going between the quarterbacks. I'm going between Tabor and I'm going between Jay. I'm leaning more towards Tabor just because he did it with his legs and with his arm. Jay is more of an arm guy. But we know I liked what I saw from Tabor as a 22-year-old. It's a tough one, but of course, you picking it apart micro-wise, probably Jay played the better team, so you could give it to him. It's a coin flip. I'm not really sure which one to go for, so chat is going to be instrumental in helping me out.
Well, chat's pretty instrumental right now. SO says Tabor. Karen Hogg says Tabor. Insergueo 31 says Tabor. I'm not mad at the Tabor nomination, man, because really I was very, very impressed with him as well. That 98 or 100 yards that he added on the ground, I mean, just that's a whole other dynamic. No offense to Jay, but he didn't really do that. He doesn't really do that with his legs, except for when he's chasing down AJ Wentland for the touchdown saving tackle there.
Vintage mobility there by Jay too.
ELFpedia says if quarterback you have to choose Reed, crazy numbers. I don't know. Reed had 2 picks though, ELFpedia, and they also lost. I don't know if you can give it to the losing quarterback. Marion KJ says Clark is the most solid quarterback.
Yeah.
Oof, Matt. All right, so we're locked in on Sandro.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're getting pushed towards Russell Tabor, and I'm not mad about it.
I'm not mad about it either.
Do you think? Chat, last attempt to sway us or lock us in with Tabor, because I feel like, Matt, we're leaning that way.
I think we are. Like, like when I did my video on him when he was playing in the Spanish league, he's elevated to another level. I definitely need to revisit, I think, that project, revisit the film with him, because this was a big one, and he performed so well. Like, he had moments and he just overcome adversity as well. Like, he was fantastic, and even Elo there again with Tabor. Like, I think I'm leaning towards Russ.
All right, yeah. Karen Hogg says another great point is it's only his 2nd game. Jadrian is an ELF vet. He's been in a lot of different games and had a lot of success here. Maximilian says yes, Tabor deserves to be nominated, but Sandro should win it this week. Matt, I think we're going with Sandro Platzgummer and Russell Tabor nominated for the Citizen MVP of the week. Now, you guys know how it works. It's going to be put up on social media on the Instagram story of the ELF. You go there and you vote. Okay, make sure you vote over the next 24 hours for who you think deserves it between these 2 fellas. Whew. There we have it, guys. There we have it, Matt. That was a fun week of ELF football. Just as the banner below us says, week 2 was everything we want. A little bit of everything this week, right, Matt?
Absolutely. And I think this might be, correct me if I'm wrong, of your opinion, I think this might be the best set of MVP. Like, this was generally really hard. Like, we had no idea who we were going to go for these 2, because there's just so many phenomenal options. So I think this was such a competitive one. We saw some hints of stars. We saw some teams kind of sorting themselves in the shuffle. It's been an incredible one, honestly.
Absolutely. So, guys, don't forget to check it out on social media. Quick little shout out to the ELF social media team, okay? Over the last 30 days, have produced 15 million impressions, and that is only 2 weeks into the start of the league. So this is very, very good stuff. Keep engaging with everything you see on social media. And let's just take a little look at what we've got coming up in week 3 before we sign off here. Maxie, will you throw that up? Ooh, Matt, we got some games in week 3. We had some games in week 2. And starting off with that Prague Fehervar and Throners game, don't overlook that one. Matt, your Prague Lions might pick up their first win.
Mm. I'm really hoping so. If they don't, you won't see me for a bit. I'll be dark.
Matt will go into a hiding hiatus. And then I got my eyes also on that Surge Hamburg game. Surge coming off a long road trip to Paris. They got to have another long road trip up to Hamburg. Hamburg's going to have their new quarterback presumably there. Paris, Frankfurt, Matt. That's going to be interesting. And then I think everyone's got eyes on the 2024 championship game rematch, the last game of the weekend in week 3, the Vienna Vikings and the Rhine Fire. So we've got some great, great games coming up this weekend. Little housekeeping note, guys. Obviously, today we are doing the show at a different time. Okay. It's 6 p.m. Central European time. And we are also going to do it at this time on Friday. It won't always be this time on Friday, but this Friday in particular, we will be at this same exact time that you just watched us here today. So 6 p.m. Central European time. For my fellow West Coasters, 9 a.m. Okay. So be sure to tune in on Friday for the show. All right, Matt. That's a great one.
It's not one of the books.
Oh, hell. Last thing. Grateful Dabs. There is no way to watch ELF in the USA. Yes, there's many ways to watch. Maxie, can you give us all the rundown here? You watch on DAZN, you watch on Fubo in the USA. There's all sorts of different options. Okay. So Sports World, got a lot of different stuff. All right. So Grateful Dabs, you got to do a little bit of troubleshooting because it is available. And we hope to have you watch some ELF games. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Matt, good stuff, brother. And I'll see you on the next one.
See you soon.